Our fourth playoff blitz divisional round edition of the Orange is Orange or Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Aligned Health Center. Yes, Aligned Health Center was with us all last year, and they've come on board as a special presenting sponsor all playoffs long. Aligned Health Center is the first chiropractic biophysics clinic in Northern Ohio. The team at Aligned Health Center helps patients with back pain, neck pain, migraines, ADHD, digestive issues, sleep disturbance, whiplash, scoliosis, and much more. And along with chiropractic biophysics, Aligned Health Center is also the leading clinic in regenerative medicine. You may have heard it as stem cell injections. And listen, you don't have to be an NFL player to have this done or have this treatment. If you have low back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, arthritis, check out Regenerative Medicine Clinic at Aligned Health Center. Come in for a free consultation, get some imaging done and x-rays to see how Aligned Health Center can help you with your pain and troubles. No multiple shots, and it's complete with physical therapy built into the process, so there's no downtime. And look, it gets even better. Aligned Health Center doesn't charge people for x-rays or exams, and they don't bill you later. They let you know right up front, right away, how much it's going to cost, and they are transparent. They are number one for a reason. But look, don't take our word for it here at Orange is Oranger. Hear what former Browns punter David Zastudil has to say about Aligned Health Center.
This is Dave Zastudil, former Cleveland Browns punter and big fan of the doctors and staff at Aligned Health Center. I want to say good luck to the Orange and Brown, and please go check out my friends at AlignedHealthCenters.com. They sure helped me after my playing career was over. Go Browns!
So call Aligned Health Center today at 440-385-7357 or visit their website at AlignedHealthCenters.com to make an appointment and to learn more about how Aligned Health Center can help you. Again, that's 440-385-7357 at AlignedHealthCenters.com. In this episode, Jeremy and I are joined by Cleveland native and 22-year ESPN Radio and ESPN2 vet Mike Golic. Yes, Mike Golic is on the pod. Mike helps us recap this remarkable season, make sense of that wildcard victory over the Steelers, and helps us look ahead to the divisional round matchup against the defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Jim Donovan, take us away.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They blocked the kick!
This is the Orange is Orange Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, divisional week, baby. Who would have thought? We're here.
Never, so this is what it feels like, right? This is what it feels like to be getting ready for a big time NFL game with only 8 teams left. Never thought it would happen. Here we are, ready to roll, and we got a very special guest tonight.
Very special, and helping us to continue our playoff blitz series for the Browns with us today, 22-year ESPN radio and personality, veteran NFL and college football analyst. May have heard of him. Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, Golic and Wingo on ESPN2, the one and only Mike Golic. Mike, thank you so much, sir, for joining the show.
Oh, no problem. It's got to be pretty fun to have an actual show about the Browns into the playoffs. I mean, this is, it's been a long time coming.
Oh my goodness.
For someone who was born and raised on the east side of Cleveland. So it's a pretty cool thing.
We started the show, Mike, when they went 0-16. That was our first year.
Wow. Nice timing is everything, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So as you said, not a stranger to Cleveland Browns football at all. You seem to always be in their orbit. We had Mark Sessler on last week, and he wanted to ask you a similar question. Mike, when did you realize this season was a little bit different and special compared to other seasons? Was there a specific moment you realized that?
Well, it was interesting to me because I remember last year, a lot of people were saying this is the year. And I remember on my show saying, I think it's at least a year away. I wasn't even sure about this year, quite honestly, but I definitely didn't think it was last year. And obviously things did not go well. And we know how it works when you're the quarterback. Sometimes you get too much praise and sometimes you get too much criticism. So there was a lot riding on this year with Baker. And I thought, and I had said at the time, I thought what the Browns did in the offseason from trades, from free agency on the draft was fantastic. They addressed, their needs on the offensive line, a tight end, on defense. I thought they did a great job. And so then it seemed like more pressure on Baker. It was like, okay, Baker, year 3, we've given you everything. We've set you up. Now it's time to go win. And what do? You start out the season and you get thumped by Baltimore. So you're going, oh God, okay. What's the direction here? Which way are we going to go? and then you rattle off 4 straight. So when they actually won, what did they win? I think 5 of the next 7 games, I believe it was, before their bye. You started to think, okay, they're sitting there at 5-3. They're playing pretty well. When the offense is clicking, they can put some points on the board. And that's today's NFL. And there are teams out there with some really good defenses, I know, but the pro ball has really turned into an offensive game. So when you're putting up 34, 49, 38, 32, that's going to catch people's eyes. So then after the bye, they rattle off 4 more. I would say, even though they lost to Vegas before the bye, I was feeling confident about them. But then after that loss, it's like, okay, are you going to get the consistency? What are you going to get out of the bye week? And then you see what you saw there when they ran off 4 straight, and they thought, okay, they're sitting in a pretty nice situation.
Okay, so are you sure at this moment, Mike, if you had to, look into your crystal ball, do you think Baker Mayfield is the franchise quarterback? Do you think he's the quarterback here for the next, 10 to 15 years? Do you think him and Stefanski are that combo that we've been looking for?
Well, first, let's give it up for Stefanski.
Yeah.
Just an incredible job that he has done. Certainly he's going to be a front runner for Coach of the Year in his first year there. We saw something like this happen in Chicago with Matt Nagy, his first year in Chicago. After coming over from Kansas City, he was the Coach of the Year. You may get that, with Stefanski. It may be Sean McDermott from Buffalo. I think those are the 2 top guys right there. Mm-hmm. But as far as Baker, and I'll be honest, when they drafted Baker, I wasn't sold on Baker as the franchise quarterback. And it had nothing to do with, I'm so tired of people, oh God, he shouldn't be doing these commercials and all that. That drives me nuts. Dude does it in the off season. I love them, by the way. The commercials I think are hilarious. It doesn't interfere with his football. That was Johnny Manziel who actually admitted he didn't do enough football work to prepare to be a pro. Baker's preparation had been there. I just didn't know if the ability was going to be there. I felt he made things up on the fly too often, and I don't think you can survive a long term by just making things up on the go. And so I wasn't really sure. And I think he and the Stefanski marriage are a good one where he can still ad lib when he needs to, but it's more out of a base offense. So while I don't know if I'm 100% sold, I certainly am way more sold after what I saw this year and the marriage with him and Stefanski. One thing he's going to get some time. He's had head coaching changes, offensive coordinator changes. He's going to have Stefanski for a bit if they choose. And I don't see any reason why they're not going to stay with Baker the way he's led him into the playoffs this year. So, I definitely can see a bright future. Do I think you can ride him and all the way and put everything on his shoulders? I'm sorry to say, I don't know yet, but he gave a great indication this year that he's leaning toward that way of playing.
And you nailed it, Mike, talking about consistency with Baker. He's gone through so much. It was a pretty lauded draft class. That draft class that had Josh Allen, who MVP in the conversation, Lamar MVP last year, Darnold, really rough time in New York. Could any other one of those quarterbacks do what Baker's done, or was Baker the only quarterback that he mentioned pre-draft? He's the one to do it. Do you think that's true?
Oh, no. Look, Josh Allen's a hell of a quarterback. You, especially when you come in from college, when you don't have a good completion percentage, that's one of the hardest things to improve upon. So, between him and their old coordinator, Brian Daboll, who may be gone as a head coach somewhere if he gets hired, they've done a great job developing him. He could have done it. Lamar Jackson is an incredible runner. Now, he's going to have to eventually make his living throwing from the pocket, and he finally got over the playoff hump, getting a win against the Titans last week after being 0-2. Sam Darnold to me is what he was in college. Sam Darnold to me is going to be an average to above average quarterback who unfortunately turns the ball over too much. So do I think Josh Allen and I think Lamar could be doing this for the Browns? Yes, I definitely could.
So obviously the situation the last 2 weeks in Cleveland with the COVID outbreak, with not practicing, with the everything being done via Zoom, the facility being closed all that time. As an ex-player leading up to the biggest game in franchise, in 20 years, How would you have dealt with that? And how did these players deal with that? And what does a day look like leading up to a playoff game in a normal circumstance?
Well, let me tell you what these players have gone through. And I saw it a lot in the colleges. I was calling all the college games this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, athletes are really everybody is, but we're talking about sports here. And then we'll boil it down to football. We're used to itineraries. We're used to being told when to be somewhere, what we're wearing, what we're doing. Are we in pads? Are we not in pads? When are we eating? When do we got to be at the plane? When do we got to be at the stadium? That's our life. And it's great. You're told what to do and you prepare for those moments. Now you throw COVID in and hell, you wake up when you think you're going to have a regular day and you're told don't come into the office. We're all on Zoom. Now you're not getting your lift in that you normally lift. Guys, Wednesdays and Thursdays, guys will get in there maybe an hour before meetings and get their lift in before meetings. They'll watch tape together. Now you have to do everything by Zoom, in certain situations. So to be able to adapt on the move like that has really been impressive. Now, the good thing for them is it comes later in the season once you've built up that chemistry of playing together for a season. But still, to get thrown off your schedule the way they have, not be able to practice. Now, I know in the NFL, which is different from my day, where we were in pads 2-3 times a week the entire season, I know there's a lot less hitting. They can only have 14 padded days during a season. So already it's less physical, but you're still used to being in the same room, on the field together, in the weight room together, in the meeting room together. And that's been thrown by the wayside. So to be able to get through that, I mean, that's impressive in and of itself because of the continuity that players normally want and what they were able to do. And then missing players. I mean, you go to the college level, look at Ohio State coming through against Clemson in the semifinal game, missing a bunch of players. Now, Alabama is just a great team and they got smoked, but they had to deal with less players. Cleveland's had to deal with it, getting hit, especially on the O-line, with that. So to be able to manage that and next man up, be able to come in and get the job done. And let's be honest. I mean, my God, how many times do Pittsburgh, this team starts out 11-0 and then fell apart. O-line didn't block as well. Running game wasn't as well. Wide receivers are dropping balls. But to start out with a perennial all-pro center snapping the ball over his quarterback's head for a touchdown, Browns fan had to be going, what the hell? This usually happens to us. Now it's happening for us.
Exactly. That was the exact sentiment of every Browns fan I talked to. They're like, that's when a lot of we asked you earlier when we knew this was a special season. A lot of Browns fans say that's when they knew, because generally that's what happens to us. And now look, completely reversed. Absolutely incredible.
It really was. I was able to watch with my wife and I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who just almost knows nothing but Goods Browns teams, which is just insane to think. We were hooting and hollering and screaming. 28.
Let me ask you guys then, because I tweeted this out during the game. Is when did you guys, and if you talk to others, when did you actually feel comfortable?
I'll tell you this, Mike. I did not feel comfortable till Taki's pick. That's when I said, okay, this is it. No, and it's so funny that you say that, Mike, because I actually posted on Facebook at halftime because I had 25 different friends texting me, and all these text chains going, and they're all like, should we feel comfortable? So I just put out a blanket thing and said, no lead will ever make me feel comfortable. That's what I put on Facebook, because we've been through so much. I've seen it all. I was at the Dwayne Rudd helmet toss that cost us the Kansas City game 20 years. I've seen it all. I've been at all this. Until there are zeros on the clock, you always have at least that little bit of anxiety. But when Taki got that pick, though, I thought that was it.
Shows how young you guys are. I've been through what my brother Bob went through, the fumble and the drive.
Yeah. Right.
I
was really 7 for the fumble, and I was 7. I was born in 81, so I was there. But I remember I used to hide in the closet during the Enzo Browns game because my dad would get so mad when they blow these games. So I used to hide at the closet, praying it went different. My dad's going to listen, and he'll confirm that.
I'll tell you, I was comfortable through the first half, especially when Baker marched down and scored before halftime, and knowing we were getting the ball back. I was feeling pretty good then. I started to get nervous in the third quarter. I was really, really nervous. How we had I think 3 straight 3-and-outs that was a minute and a half long. They were just really not good possessions. I can't. gosh, I've like thought through that game so much. When Tomlin went for it on 4th and 1, that was the start of the fourth quarter.
Right.
We were up 12 at that point when the
quarter ended.
Punted, when they didn't go for it on the 4th and 1.
Right. Which I thought that was a mistake. I thought they were giving us the game there. I felt 100% fine when, as soon as I saw they were punting, I was like, oh, it's over. And I felt fine after that, Mike, but the third quarter was not fun.
Well, you know what? You made it through. And so either way, I mean, now I wonder, listen, you got a hell of a game that, this week with the Chiefs. But so I wonder, do you guys see, I'm so far removed from it. It's been so long, but for like the diehard Browns fans, if at this point, are you like, hey, if we lose to Kansas City, cool, man, we went farther than we thought we were going to go. It was a successful year. Or is there going to be heavy disappointment if you lose to Kansas City?
Again, Mike, you're reading my mind because I had this conversation with my wife because, she kept asking me, we're up 20, why I was so upset. I'm like, come on, it was not over yet. But I told her the exact thing you just said. I said, you know what? The only way I'd be upset at this week is if we get out to a lead and blow it. But you're right. We're kind of playing with house money now, right? No one really expected us to be here. No, I think the Browns are going to put them some points on the Chiefs. I think we can run the ball on them. I don't think their run defense is that good. But you're right. If the Browns lose this week, I think you're thinking about the future. You're not going to be angry for long. Maybe, 20 minutes after the game, you're starting to think, man, we got rookies who didn't even play this year, like Grant Delpit. We've got, picks coming in. We've got some guys that opted out that are coming back. So I think then you start thinking, man, we got Stefanski and Baker. I think then you start thinking, wow, this is pretty awesome. But in the moment, obviously, you'll be a little upset if they lose, but I think that'll subside quick.
Mike, we want to spend a few moments here in a little bit talking about the Chiefs. But before we do that, I want to wrap up our conversation about the Steelers because, I mean, that was a monumental win for the franchise, for Baker, for all these young players, for the coaches. And a lot of it was fueled. It seemed they took it very personal when Juju, said the Browns is the Browns, and they didn't take this team seriously. And I grew up listening to you on air, so this is kind of surreal, this moment. But would you do the honors of just telling Juju to just shut up? Would you just?
Oh man, the old Mike and Mike just shut up segment. Wow. So for those that may not know that, we would do it every Friday, and we would get a number of people in sports who said stupid things, and we do a vote. And at the end of the show, we would go through this whole production, and then to case in point here, we'd say, Juju, just shut up. So it's kind of how it would go and what we would do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that, listen, let me also say this. Those kind of comments don't decide a game. When they talk about bulletin board material, that doesn't all of a sudden, nobody in the Browns locker room said, well, let's go win the game now because he said that. Mm-hmm. They're trying to win, but I just don't understand why you got to say it. I didn't understand after the game why Chase Claypool, who, I like because he's a Notre Dame guy in my school, had to say, well, they're going to get clapped by the Chiefs anyway. I don't understand. It's before the game. Why say what you say? And then like Juju did. And then after the game, I don't understand why Chase Claypool, you got beat. You know what? You got beat. Just move on, start your off season and move it along. The Browns are going on and you're going home. It's the way it goes.
Yep. Chase is going to be a problem for the Browns for many, many years.
Yes, he is.
He is really, really good.
Player, man.
And so he'll embarrass many a cornerback, I feel like, in our future. Well, we're going to take a quick break and come back and preview really as quickly as possible the game against the Chiefs.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, the Roadman Kenny Rhoda. Join me and Dennis Maniloff on the Next Man Up podcast as we look at all the teams in the Buckeye State, the Browns, the Indians, the Cavaliers, the Buckeyes, and whatever's happening, we'll be talking about it here on the Next Man Up podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Aaron Shipe, co-host of the Tim and Shipe Show. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and we love talking college football. We talk everything from Florida Gators to the Ohio State Buckeyes. If you like college football, check us out. Thanks.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Using a narrative storytelling approach, the Hyman Podcast was created to start conversations that need to be human. Week by week, I'll break down walls and barriers and make people wildly uncomfortable, all the while giving a voice to the voiceless and the marginalized. Consider this your personal invitation to be part of that conversation.
All right, we're back here with Mike Golic. Just an incredible conversation. Hey, Mike, if you're the coach of the Browns and you're either doing Zoom or in person, and you're playing the Super Bowl, champions, what are you telling your players going into this divisional round? A lot of firsts for every single player on this team.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not telling them they're the Super Bowl champions. You're saying we're playing the team of this year. They were the Super Bowl champs last year. They're whatever they are this year. So you coach it like a regular game. You respect them, but then you break them down just like you would do in any game plan. They get their game plan, how we would always get it on a Wednesday. So you get it, you look at what their tendencies are, and you start studying, and that's what players do. You get your game plan of what you want to do based on what they do. And then as a player, you study the guy that you're going to play against, and you see what tendencies does that guy have. These guys didn't play against each other this year, but I'm sure maybe guys have played against each other in the past, but you see how they play. How does the wide receiver release, on his route? How does an old lineman, what kind of stance is he in on run and pass? D-line, do they give away their twists? Is there extra pressure on one foot, one hand? What can I look at when I'm watching film? That's what you do. You don't sit there and say, oh, my God, we're playing the Super Bowl champs. You sit there and you say, we're in the same round as they're in. We have as good a chance to beat them because we're here. The only chance you have to beat somebody is when you're on the field with them, and the Browns are. Yep. Now, yep. I think Kansas City's a better team, and they have more on the field, but that doesn't mean a damn thing. As we've seen, anything can happen. And to beat a team like Kansas City, you have to be able to put up points. And as we mentioned earlier, the Browns can put up points. When that offense is moving and they got to get that running game going to help the passing game, they can put up some points because Kansas City, is going to put up some points. The Cleveland defense is a good defense. I don't think they're a great defense by any stretch, but they're a good defense. You got a guy that can get some pressure on the quarterback in Garrett. If you can keep, keep him contained, because Mahomes is dangerous in the pocket. He's dangerous out of the pocket. He can just kill you. The best way is just to friggin' sack him and be done with it. But that's easier said than done. So this is going to be a tough task, but the Browns players are going to go in there with every confidence that they can win.
And if there's ever a coach, Mike, that would give me as a fan confidence that they are going to game plan like it's a regular game and they are going to break down positions, it would be Stefanski, who seems to have, created this culture of maturity and professionalism that, I couldn't say has been in Cleveland. And so you look at Stefanski and you look at the caliber of players we have, and I have hope, Mike. I really do. I know that that we're playing a great team, but and I know Browns fans are notorious for having a ton of hope anyway. But Mike, I tweeted out earlier that the Chiefs may score 60 on us, but we may score 61 on them, and it's hard for me not to have hope going into this Sunday, Mike.
Well, I think the biggest thing Stefanski brought with these players is cohesiveness and confidence. Mm-hmm. It's been a mess the last couple of years from the coaching staff on down. I mean, with coaches bickering with one another to in all honesty, you hired a guy in Kitchens who you made him the head coach because you thought he got along with the quarterback well. Yeah. I mean, that's to me, that's never a reason to hire a coach. We went through that a little bit. We saw that at other places. They'd hire a guy as a head coach because they got along with the quarterback. That's not the reason to hire a head coach. That's part of it. Or to hire somebody that's going to work well with the quarterback. but that coach has got to be the CEO. That head coach has got to oversee everything. Offense, defense, special teams. It's got to take on that personality. And man, they're brimming with confidence in Cleveland right now. I got to meet Kevin, when I was in Cleveland in January. And I mean, he's what you think he is. He's a young, bright guy who, and he got it to work. So that's what the players want. The coach says, I'm going to sell you this. Yeah. And the players, depending on what they've been through, can be hesitant on buying if they haven't had success. Or they could say, okay, we're going to buy in. And when you buy in and you win, all of a sudden, man, let me tell you, life is great in that locker room when you see shit that actually works. Where you're going, okay, he's selling this, we're buying it, we're seeing it come to fruition on the field. So, I mean, that is such a positive thing. And like I said, with all the moves they made in the offseason, it's just clicking for them. So, it's a game where that if they get down, they know they can score to try and come back. Also, if they get up in this game, Kansas City can come back. You saw them do that in the postseason last year. So
every game,
I think they'll have confidence. Do I think the Browns are going to win? No, I don't think they're going to win this game, but I certainly think their arrow is certainly pointing up and in a positive direction going on into the future.
Yeah, Landry went on, I think the Pat McAfee show this morning and said that locker room experience was his all-time favorite locker room experience after that Steelers game, which makes me a little concerned about the drop-off game where you feel like you accomplished everything. But Jeremy, how much hope do you have? How confident are you going into this Sunday?
Well, I'm really confident. Now they've turned it over to the Kareem Hunt, right? Nick Chubb said today in an interview that all year long, Kareem Hunt's been talking about he can't wait to play the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like it was always meant to happen. So there's something else they can rally around. Look, it looks like this team, I know, and I agree with Mike when he says that, bulletin board stuff, that ends the first hit of the game, right? Once they kick the ball off, that stuff is behind you. But it is neat to have something to rally behind. And whether real or imagined, Kareem Hunt feels like he was slighted by the Chiefs. So that's another thing. So I don't think there's any chance there's going to be a letdown. Look, what did Stefanski say this week in his interview? He said that the Browns are one of 8 teams left, and he'll always take those odds. So I think this team's locked in to how important this is and how big a game this is. And I don't think there'll be any letdown, Chase.
No, I listen. I don't think there will be either. Now there is the experience in the playoffs. It all depends. Now the Browns don't have a lot of experience in the playoffs, so if you ask them about it, they're going to say, "Oh, experience doesn't mean anything." And if you ask the team that has experience in the playoffs, they're going to say, "Yeah, experience means something." So who knows what the real deal is? I mean, all I know is the Steelers had a ton of playoff experience, and they just lost to the Browns, who haven't been there in 18 years. So I mean. 6 one, half dozen the other. Who knows? But I do know the Chiefs can make you change your game plan really, really quick if they get going.
Yes, and I don't know if you can really even prepare for behind the back, no look, cross-shouldered, spin around passes that Mahomes does. You can't plan for that. That just happens. Mike, would you care to give us a prediction for the game on Sunday? Prime time, 3:00, Nance and Romo. I mean, that's the biggest stage right now as it can get.
Oh, listen, it's fantastic. And where my heart is, again, born and raised in the east side of Cleveland. I grew up, a Browns fan. Leroy Kelly was my guy. Again, I'm really aging myself. You guys are born, my God, when I was almost done playing in the NFL. It's ridiculous. But so I certainly with my heart want them to win, but I don't think they're going to win this game. I think the Chiefs are going to put up in the 30s, maybe the high 30s. The Browns, I think, can put up in the 20s, maybe the low 30s. But I think it'll be a double-digit game in the Chiefs' favor.
Gotcha, Jeremy. Let's give a prediction. What do you think, buddy?
Hey, of course. Look, we're a fan podcast. Nothing I say I'm going to get held accountable for, right? So I'm going to say Browns 35, Chiefs 31. Browns run wild on them, get a lead early, and then hold on at the end. That's what I think is going to happen, Jace.
There you go. Good.
I love it. I love it. I think the Browns are going to win. I tweeted today, and this hurt. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and they were all excited because I've been a fan my whole life. And congratulations! My dad said, "Chase, I'm going to root for Mahomes on Sunday because I cheered for him in college." And it cut hard. It cut so deep. That really hurt.
Wait, your dad said that to you?
Yeah.
For Mahomes in college, he's going to root for him now.
Yeah. So I said, "What, does your other son love the Chiefs?" He's like, "I don't have another son." And then it was just like silence. It was like this really awkward silence.
Wow. I was going to say, I'd be like, "Dad, that hurts, man."
Yeah. So I've never wanted to win more in my life than this win on Sunday.
Wow.
So that's going to skew my prediction a little bit. I'm going to say Browns 42, Chiefs 32.
There you go.
Hey, you guys are doing exactly what you should be doing. So you're making the picks exactly the way you should.
Well, we are having a ton of fun. And Mike, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, for giving us your time tonight. You are just the absolute best. And my dad and I spent so many mornings listening to you on the way to school, or it was just so thank you so much for your time tonight, brother.
Here's what, if you say me and my dad listened to me as he was driving me to grade school, I'm going to hang up right now. Okay?
It wasn't grade school. It wasn't grade school.
All right.
Let me say this too, Mike. Browns fans are super excited to hear what you had to say. We tweeted this out and we got tons and tons and tons of responses. Just, we love Mike. We miss Mike. So just passing that along to you. The Browns Nation absolutely loves you. And thank you so much for talking directly.
Yeah, no
with them
problem. And like I said, while I don't think they're going to win this game, the arrow is so pointing up for them and the future. And now that they have some cohesiveness with a coach, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the future with them.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much. Jeremy, any final thoughts, brother?
No, sir. Just let's get ready. Thanks. Excited tonight to have Mike on. So excited for the game. Can't wait. Go Browns.
Hey, Jeremy, tomorrow we got Jay Crawford on, so it's going to be good.
Awesome.
All right. We'll catch you guys later. See ya.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
It's not an illusion. We're talking about the Super Bowl. Anything less is impossible. Brown and orange for the USA.